$500,000, half a million. That number used to mean something. Back in 1985, you could retire on that and buy a boat. Maybe a small boat, but still a boat. Today, that same $500,000 gives you about $1,667 a month to live on. That's it. That's what the math says. But here's where it gets weird. That same 500,000 could let you sip margaritas on a beach in Florida, completely comfortable. Or it could have you eating ramen in a studio apartment wondering why you ever quit your job. The difference isn't luck. It isn't some secret investment strategy your rich uncle knows. It's 5 specific factors that most people never talk about, and one of them will genuinely shock you. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Here's what I'm going to explain today. How $500,000 actually translates into monthly income, why that number is both completely accurate and potentially totally wrong, and the 5 factors that determine which reality becomes yours. No motivational fluff, no believe in yourself nonsense, just math, psychology, and the systems that actually govern retirement. Sound good? Good. Let me tell you about a farmer I read about in an old economics textbook. This farmer had 3 barns. First barn held his seed corn for planting next season. Second barn held grain to feed his family through winter. Third barn held surplus he could trade or sell. The farmer understood something most people forget. The seed corn in barn 1, you never touch it. That's your principal. The grain in barn 2, that's your emergency reserve. The surplus in barn 3, that's what you actually spend. 3 separate piles, 3 separate purposes. Most retirement advice treats your savings like one giant pile. That's the mistake. Your $500,000 isn't one barn. It's 3 barns, and you need to understand what goes in each one. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Bobby, cute farming metaphor, but what does this have to do with my retirement? Fair question. Here's the thing. The 4% rule, which financial planner William Bengen developed back in 1994, says you can safely withdraw 4% of your portfolio in year 1 of retirement, then adjust that amount for inflation each year, and your money should last 30 years. 4% of $500,000 is $20,000 per year. Divide by 12 months and you get $1,667. That's barn 3 money. That's your surplus. But here's what nobody tells you. That 4% rule was based on historical U.S. market data from a specific time period, tested against some rough economic environments, including the Great Depression and the stagflation of the 1970s. It held up. Mostly. But mostly is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. Let me introduce you to 3 people. All 3 have exactly $500,000 saved. All 3 are retiring this year, but they're about to have 3 completely different retirements. First, there's Larry. Larry worked retail and service jobs his whole career, earned about $30,000 a year on average. Modest, honest work. His Social Security benefit at age 67 will be about $1,400 per month. Add his portfolio withdrawal of $1,667, and Larry's bringing in roughly $3,067 monthly. That's about $36,800 per year. Then there's Amy, solid middle-class career, earned around $60,000 annually. Her Social Security at 67 is about $1,907 per month. Combined with her portfolio withdrawal, she's at $3,574 monthly or $42,800 annually. Finally, there's Henry. Software engineer, maxed out his Social Security taxes most years, averaged over $100,000 throughout his career. His Social Security benefit is $3,200 per month. Combined total, $4,867 monthly, or about $58,400 per year. Same $500,000. 3 completely different lifestyles. The difference between Larry and Henry is $22,000 per year. That's a new car annually, or 3 international vacations, or covering all your healthcare costs with money left over. Here's something most people don't know. You can check your exact projected Social Security benefit right now. Go to ssa.gov, create an account, takes 5 minutes. You'll see what you'd get at 62, at your full retirement age, and at 70. Do this today. I'm serious. Stop watching, go do it, come back. This one number changes everything about your retirement planning. I'll wait. Now, here's where the story takes a turn. Let's talk about Susan. Susan has that same $3,574 monthly income. She wants to stay in New York City to be near her daughter. Noble, right? Here's her monthly reality. She rents a 1-bedroom in Queens because Manhattan is impossible. That's $2,400 right there. Utilities run about $150, Groceries in New York cost roughly $400. Her Metro card is $132. Health insurance supplement before Medicare is about $300. Add that up. Susan spent $3,382 before we talk about entertainment, clothing, phone, internet, or any unexpected expenses. She's got $192 left for everything else. One dental emergency and she's dipping into principal. One AC repair in July and she's eating rice and beans for 2 months. Susan is stressed. Susan is not enjoying retirement. Susan made the classic mistake. She confused Barn 1 money with Barn 3 money. Now let me tell you about Karen. Same exact income, $3,574 per month, but Karen moved to Knoxville, Tennessee. Two-bedroom apartment for $1,100, utilities $120, groceries $350, car payment, insurance, and gas combined, $450. Health insurance supplement, $250. Total monthly expenses, $2,270. Karen has $1,304 left every single month for dining out, travel, hobbies, spoiling the grandkids, building an emergency fund. Karen is living her best life. The difference between New York and Tennessee? Karen has an extra $13,000 per year compared to Susan. Over 30 years, that's almost $400,000 in extra spending money. That's nearly as much as their entire original nest egg. But wait, there's more. Let me introduce you to Robert. Robert moved to Merida, Mexico. Two-bedroom house with a yard, $600 per month. Utilities, $80. Groceries, $300. Transportation, $100. Private health insurance, $200. He eats out regularly for another $300. Total monthly expenses, $1,580. Robert has almost $2,000 per month in discretionary income. Weekend trips to the beach. Restaurants 3 times a week. Still saving money every month. Now, I'm not saying you should move to Mexico. Maybe you love where you are. Maybe your whole family is there, and that matters more than money. But you need to understand the trade-off you're making. Every dollar you spend on higher cost of living is a dollar you can't spend on literally anything else. Location isn't just important. It's the single biggest factor that determines whether $500,000 is enough. This is where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about healthcare, because this is where most retirement plans go to die. Not because people don't plan for healthcare, because they drastically underestimate what it actually costs. If you retire at 60 before Medicare kicks in, you're buying private health insurance for 5 years. In 2025, going into 2026, the average premium for a 60-year-old is about $950 per month. Then you've got your annual deductible, roughly $7,000. So in that first year, you're looking at $18,400 just for healthcare, assuming you actually hit your deductible. That's nearly your entire $20,000 portfolio withdrawal, gone. For 5 years straight, you're looking at over $90,000 minimum before Medicare finally shows up to save you. But even at 65, when Medicare kicks in, you're not done paying. Medicare Part B costs $185 per month as of 2026. Part D for prescriptions averages about $50 per month. You'll want either a Medigap supplement or Medicare Advantage plan. That's another $200 per month. Dental and vision aren't covered by Medicare. Add another $100 per month. All in, you're looking at $535 per month or $6,420 per year. Way better than $18,400, but still a chunk of change. Here's the scary part. Fidelity's latest research says the average couple retiring at 65 will need $315,000 just for healthcare over their retirement. That's separate from your living expenses, separate from your groceries and rent and travel. $315,000 just to not die prematurely. So if you got $500,000 saved and you need to mentally earmark $315,000 for healthcare, you really only have $185,000 for everything else over 30 years. This is why retiring at 65 versus 60 is such a massive deal. Those 5 years save you over $90,000 in healthcare costs. Let your portfolio keep growing, increase your Social Security benefit by waiting, and reduce how many years your money needs to last. Now you might be thinking, okay, Bobby, this is depressing. Is there any good news? Actually, yes. But it requires understanding something most people get wrong. Let's talk about inflation and investing, because here's something that keeps me up at night. Your expenses go up every year, but your savings don't automatically follow. Let's use real numbers. That $3,574 per month budget we discussed, with 3% average inflation, In 10 years, you'll need $4,800 per month to buy the same stuff. In 20 years, you'll need $6,454 per month. In 30 years, $8,677 per month. Your $400 grocery bill today becomes $722 in 20 years. That $1,100 rent becomes $1,988. This is why keeping all your money in a savings account earning 1% is financial suicide. You need growth to fight inflation, or you're slowly going broke while thinking you're being safe. But here's the counterintuitive part. Most financial advisors recommend keeping about 60% in stocks for growth and 35% in bonds for stability when you first retire, with maybe 5% in cash for emergencies. As you get older, you shift more toward bonds. The reason is simple. From 1926 through 2023, stocks averaged 10% annual returns, bonds averaged 5%. Inflation averaged 3%. If you're sitting in all bonds earning 5%, but inflation is eating 3%, you're only really gaining 2% in purchasing power. But if you're in a balanced mix, getting 7% and inflation is 3%, you're gaining 4% in real terms. Over 30 years, that difference is massive. A 2% real return turns your $500,000 into almost $900,000. A 4% real return turns it into $1.6 million. But there's a risk here, and it's critical to understand. If you retire right before a market crash and start pulling money out while stocks are down, you can permanently damage your portfolio's ability to recover. This is called sequence of returns risk, and it's exactly as fun as it sounds. The solution is what they call a bucket strategy. Remember our 3 barns? This is where that metaphor pays off. You keep about 2 to 3 years of expenses in cash or very safe bonds. That's roughly $85,000 if you're spending $43,000 per year. That's barn 2. Your emergency reserve. If the market crashes, you're not forced to sell stocks at a loss. You just spend from your cash bucket while waiting for the market to recover. Meanwhile, that other $415,000 stays invested for growth. That's barn 1. Your principal. You refill your cash bucket during good market years. It's not sexy, but it works. Let me tell you a quick story about a guy I'll call Marcus. Marcus retired in 2007 with $600,000. Pretty good shape. Then 2008 happened, the market cratered, his portfolio dropped to $360,000 by March 2009. Here's the thing though, Marcus didn't panic. He had 2 years of expenses in cash, just like the bucket strategy suggests. He didn't sell a single stock during the crash. By 2012, his portfolio had recovered and then some. Today, he's sitting on over $1.2 million. His neighbor, same age, same portfolio size, retired at the same time. Neighbor panicked. Sold everything at the bottom in March 2009, moved to cash, locked in a $240,000 loss, never recovered. Same market, same crash, 2 completely different outcomes. The difference wasn't luck, it was having a system. Now let's talk about the final factor, the one that can make or break everything else: debt. Let me show you 2 people with identical $500,000 in savings. First, there's Diana. Debt-free Diana. She owns her home outright. No mortgage, no car payment, no credit card debt. Her monthly expenses are $2,800. Her monthly income is $3,574. She's got $774 left over every month, about $9,300 per year. Diana is comfortable, building an emergency fund, taking a vacation every year, sleeping well at night. Then there's Dan, debt-burdened Dan, same $500,000, same income, but Dan still owes $180,000 on his mortgage. That's $1,400 per month. He's got a car payment of $350, credit card debt payment of $200, plus those same $2,800 in other expenses. His total monthly expenses are $4,750. His income is still $3,574. Dan has a deficit of $1,176 every single month. That's $14,112 per year. He's pulling extra from his principal just to survive. At this rate, Dan's $500,000 is completely gone in 17 years. He'll be 82 years old with no savings and just Social Security to live on. Diana, meanwhile, is actually building wealth in retirement. Here's a debate that never dies. Should you pay off your mortgage before retiring? The math people will tell you that if your mortgage rate is under 4%, you could theoretically make more by keeping the mortgage and investing instead. And they're right, mathematically, but they're missing something important. The peace of mind of having no mortgage payment is worth a lot. With no mortgage, you need less income. Less income means less withdrawn from your portfolio. Less withdrawn means it lasts longer. Plus, if something goes wrong, a health emergency, a market crash, whatever, you're not stressed about losing your home. You're not making withdrawals from your principal just to keep the bank happy. Remember Barn 1? The seed corn you never touch? A mortgage forces you to touch Barn 1. Being debt-free lets you protect it. By the way, hit subscribe if you like the content, otherwise YouTube's algorithm may never show you my videos again. Let me give you a concrete example of how all five factors work together. Imagine you're 60 years old, have 500,000 saved, and you're trying to decide if you can retire. Let's run the numbers three different ways. Scenario 1, you retire now at 60. You pull $18,400 per year for healthcare before Medicare. Your Social Security at 62 is reduced because you're claiming early, maybe $1,200 per month. Your portfolio withdrawal is $20,000. Total income, about $44,000 per year, but your healthcare alone costs $18,400. You're living on $25,600 for everything else. That's tight, really tight. Scenario 2, you wait until 65. Healthcare costs drop to $6,420 per year. Social Security at 65 is about $1,500 per month. Portfolio withdrawal still $20,000. Total income about $53,000 per year. Healthcare costs $6,420. You're living on $46,500 for everything else. Much better. Scenario 3, you wait until 67, full retirement age. Healthcare still $6,420. Social Security now $1,900 per month. Portfolio withdrawal $20,000. Total income about $58,000 per year. Living on $51,500 for everything else. The difference between retiring at 60 versus 67 is about $25,000 per year in spending power. Same $500,000. Same person, different decisions, different outcomes. Here's something that might surprise you. The median retirement savings for Americans aged 65 to 74 is $200,000 as of the latest data. If you've got $500,000, you're already ahead of 60% of Americans. The question isn't whether $500,000 is enough in some abstract sense. The question is whether it's enough for the specific retirement you want to live. Someone out there is living their dream retirement on $500,000. Someone else with $2 million is stressed and unhappy because they didn't plan properly. The money is just the tool. Your plan is everything. Let me tell you about one more person. Her name is Patricia. Patricia was a teacher for 35 years, modest salary her whole career, saved diligently but never made huge money. Retired with $520,000 at 65. Here's what Patricia did differently. She stayed in her paid-off home instead of upgrading. She waited until 67 to claim Social Security for the higher benefit. She moved her investments to a low-cost index fund portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, with 3 years of expenses in a separate cash bucket. She budgets $4,000 per month and usually spends less. Patricia takes 2 nice vacations per year. She sees her grandkids regularly. She volunteers at the local library. She's not rich, but she's not stressed either. Patricia understood something most people miss. Retirement isn't about having the most money. It's about having enough money to live the life you actually want. Now you're asking yourself, okay, Bobby, what do I actually do with this information? Fair question. Here are 3 practical takeaways. First, go to ssa.gov right now and check your projected Social Security benefit. I mentioned this earlier, but I'm mentioning it again because it's that important. This one number tells you exactly where you fall on the Larry, Amy, Henry spectrum. It takes 5 minutes. Do it today. Second, calculate your real monthly expenses, not what you think you spend. What you actually spend. Pull your bank statements from the last 6 months, add everything up. Most people underestimate by 20 to 30%. Be honest with yourself. Third, look at your debt situation realistically. If you have a mortgage, run the numbers on what paying it off before retirement would do to your monthly cash flow. Sometimes the math says keep the mortgage. Sometimes the psychology says pay it off. Both matter. You need to understand your own brain. Here's the thing about retirement planning that nobody wants to admit. Most financial mistakes aren't math problems. They're brain problems. People don't understand how their own decision-making works. That's where the real alpha is. Not in picking the perfect stock, not in timing the market, in understanding your own psychology and building systems that account for it. The 3-barn system isn't complicated, but it works because it matches how your brain actually operates. Barn 1 is untouchable principle. Your brain can relax knowing it's there. Barn 2 is your emergency reserve. Your brain can handle unexpected expenses without panic. Barn 3 is your spending money. Your brain can enjoy retirement without constantly worrying if you're going to run out. Lazy investing built more fortune than crypto memes. Let me leave you with this. $500,000 is simultaneously more than you think and less than you think. It's more because with the right combination of Social Security, location, healthcare timing, investment strategy, and debt management, it can fund a comfortable retirement. It's less because with the wrong combination of those factors, it can disappear faster than you expect. The difference between a good retirement and a stressful one isn't luck. It's understanding the systems and making intentional choices. Your retirement isn't determined by one number in your 401k. It's determined by the decisions you make about those five critical factors. The money is just the tool. Your plan is everything.